evening, troglodytes and pterodactyls. Thank you guys all very much for checking out the video today. We are going to be looking at Killjoy's best setups here for Haven on Valorant, the video game made by Riot Games, also known as Bitch Made. Thank you guys very much for checking out the video. I hope you guys are going to enjoy all the setups that we have here today. We will go ahead and start out with the A side of Haven. So let's cut the crap and eat the cheese. With the A side and C side of this map being Killjoy's most definitely best sites to hold in the entire game period, we're going to have a couple of very pristine setups here for you. First one right here is going to be a very general default setup with different turret positions depending on the different rounds or what round you are in. So for the setup right here, all this is going to remain the same. Alarm bot right there for this setup. First grenade right here on this little marker. Second grenade slightly behind, or excuse me, slightly into the site right here in this little separation of the two bricks. And then, as I said, your turret is a bit dependent on the round that you're playing and what is happening in that round. You can go ahead and position your turret right here if you want to catch them while they're coming in and maybe wait for them to get in a little bit quicker, or excuse me, wait for them to get in a little bit slower. Turret can also be placed right here behind the site. That way you have the turret facing the short side coming in. That way you can peek wonderfully on the left side, making sure that you are not getting pushed from a side that you are not aiming at. And finally, for any pistol rounds, I would 150% recommend you place your turret right here in Heaven. It is a very, very cheeky position for turret. It takes them a little bit to go ahead and shoot it down. They have to move their cursor up, and in that time, you can go ahead and peek from right here or peek from short and get the upper hand on them. So if you're the enemy pushing in on a pistol round, you see that turret up there, you take a bunch of bullets to go ahead and shoot it out while you're pushing in. The alarm bot goes off at the same time. You're behind sight right there or right there. This gets set off, that gets set off. There is a very, very large amount of the site covered by your grenades, and your grenades give you a lot of space onto the site. That way you can wrap around and shoot the enemies in the position to where you can be ready for them. Using that exact same setup, except with a turret placed right next to you beside... With that same setup, except the turret is now placed right beside you behind sight, you can go ahead and set off both of your grenades when you hear someone come in. It gives them no choice but to go ahead and push towards the right side of sight. If they push towards the right side, your turret will go ahead and shoot them dead. If they push towards the left side, it is just some fish in the barrel for you. And when it comes to the weapon that you use, there isn't really a bad weapon to use. If you want to use a short-range weapon, if you want to use a long-range weapon, each one will do good. They have to push you around this crate, and that gives you way much of an upper hand compared to the enemy versus if you want to use any other weapon. For our next setup, you're going to want to focus your attention towards the A short, but focus your utility towards A long. And what I mean by that is you're going to set your alarm bot up right here in the corner, just coming into the site. First grenade right there. Turret, you're going to want to go ahead and put as far back into that corner as you can, like so. And then from there, you want to go ahead and hold a position somewhere like here. And it may seem a bit precarious because you won't be able to push back onto site, but thankfully, because you have your turret, once you start to hear the enemy push up, the turret will shoot them. You can go ahead and fire back when they're focused on your turret. And let's say they start to fire back and you see them push over towards this side and they're not coming out. If you keep your extra grenade, you can go ahead and chuck it over there. Set that off and it'll force them to push out. Just make sure you are ready. Because you're a Killjoy, you are going to be holding sites mainly by yourself for the most part, so I like this setup a lot because it gives you both angles that you can be pushed from, sufficient enough time to react, and if they decide to come up long, they get hit by your bot, you throw off your grenade. That gives you more than ample enough time to take a look over there, see if anyone has gotten through the site. And just keep an eye on short as always. Make sure your turret is turreting. Make sure your grenades are grenading. And make sure your cheese is blooming. For our last setup here on A site, we are now going to be taking a look at the retake setup for our grenades. We're going to want to go ahead and put ourselves smack dab against this wonderful board. Give it a nice kiss. Mwah. And then we're going to go ahead and line our cursor up right there with a little void. Chuck the baby in. Make sure he's right there. Alarm bot. We're going to want to go ahead and put exactly where it just was, right around there. second grenade, that spot as well. When you start to hear the enemy plant, when you start to hear them come through, pop that. Again, uncrouchable grenade. Very, very wonderful setup. And then they start to push in. Maybe they want to try to plant under. The alarm bot hits them. That pops off. They'll have to move again. Wonderful, wonderful positions for both of the grenades and the alarm bots here. Gives you and your team lots and lots of time. Gives you enough time to be able to go ahead and make a play. As I always mention in all my Killjoy videos, always remember to keep an eye on your ultimate when you are doing retakes. So for example, if you were doing a retake on A, placing it somewhere right around here so that it covers the entirety of the site is always very, very good. Again, just make sure that you get this little area of the site that doesn't get destroyed by your thing. So you're just going to want to go ahead and line up your grenade right there, chuck it over there. It gets stuck in the corner. Make sure you set that off in enough time to where they either get grenaded or they get stun locked by your ult. With A side out of the way, we are going to go ahead and direct our attention towards B side of this map, one of the very few maps that has 3 sites to it. Unfortunately for B site, Killjoy doesn't have the best utility. It does not get the best bang for her buck as it does on A and C. So there is unfortunately only about 1, maybe I guess 1.5 if you count the next setup we're doing after this in Garage as a setup for B. But not a lot of setups. Use it at your own risk. Use it, I guess, if you're just feeling cheeky or just want to BM the other team or just want to give them a slap to your cheese. This will be like that. You'll want to go ahead and set your drone right there in the corner on the right side. First grenade right there with an asterisk on it, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. Turret in the corner right there. Not really much of a different place to put it. If you want, you can maybe put it over there to change it up. If you just wanted to get info, you could throw it up there on top of the middle part of the site. And then for the second grenade, it is entirely up to you whether you want to go ahead and put it somewhere like right here or somewhere over here. It is very dependent on the plant, obviously, so just be aware of that. And when the enemy decides to come in, they'll go ahead and see your turret get triggered by your alarm bot. You'll pop that first grenade. They'll have to make a quick decision of going left or right. They decide to go right. You pop this one if you go ahead and set that one off. If they go left, pop this one. Again, it is very, very dependent on where they go, and it could bite you in the ass if you put your grenade on one side and then they go to the other. So to avoid this, if you want to go ahead and change the first grenade position to just having both of the grenades right there and right here, I would definitely say that might be an advantageous thing to do. It does not catch the enemy as off guard as the other setups that we do with Killjoy, but it is one that will work, I think, a little bit better on this B site. And after that, just make sure you're positioned in a decent place, not on site. On site for Killjoy would probably be a very bad idea, so either make sure you're positioned here if you have your turret there, or vice versa. If you have your turret on the left side, make sure you position yourself over there. Wait for them to come in, obviously. Take a peek. Make sure they're not in that corner right there in that little pocket. And just get going. As I was saying with the B site, the C and A site for this map are a little bit more of Killjoy speed, but that is not to dissuade you from holding Garage as well with Killjoy. Garage is basically a combination of B and C. They can sort of, if they get control of Garage, can go in your spawn and pretty much go to either site. So this position is a very, very, very special one to hold, and there are a lot of decent Killjoy setups here. Our first one we're going to be taking a look at is making sure we have one grenade on the door like this, second grenade in the corner right there, and turret in the corner over in the right. Positioning in the window, as always, just take a peek. Make sure you don't give yourself up too much to the enemy team, as their spawn is very close to right there, so just make sure you aren't peeking into 2 or 3 people at the same time. If you are the enemy, go ahead and wanting to push into this Killjoy nightmare setup, you're going to go ahead and see this. You'll see the turret. That'll go ahead and get shot at. You'll know when they're in, when the turret gets shot at, because they won't be able to see the turret until they actually push in. They might end up pushing out, but if they decide to, it'll be a bit too late. Once you start to hear them shooting your turret, pop your first grenade. They'll either have to back up or push in. If they decide to push in more and you hear more footsteps, pop your second one. If they decide to go ahead and sit in this corner. Alternatively, if you want to go ahead and try to hold Garage along with B, you're going to go ahead and keep that first grenade spot the exact same and turret position the exact same. Then you're going to go ahead and mosey your way on over to B right here. throw your turret just in the corner as always, or excuse me, not in the corner. Go ahead and throw your drone right there and throw your grenade right over there. That way, if you start to hear them push in, you just pop your swarm grenade, you get out of heaven, take a peek over here, see what's happening, ask them if they want to extend their car's warranty, and have a nice cup of tea. Regardless of which of these two setups you decide to do with Garage, you must always make sure you have a teammate holding C as well. If you do not have at least one teammate holding C, this will all crumble down on you in a matter of seconds. And so if we are the person that is going to be holding C and our teammate is going to be holding Garage, let's go ahead and take a look at what the setup on C would look like. A little change to a Garage setup that I forgot to mention is this. So let's say that the enemy team has sort of picked up on your Garage setup very easily, and they've started blasting down the doors, destroying your one grenade right there, maybe even destroying your second grenade right there, and they're just going ahead and blasting you through all of these very flimsy plastic paper walls right here. This second setup will also be very, very good for that. Maybe having them push in a little bit more into Garage, that way you know exactly how many are in there. So your first grenade you're going to want to put on that little marker right there. Your alarm bot is just basically dead center in this little hallway position once you get into Garage. Second grenade right around yonder. Once the enemy has blasted through all the walls and decides to push in because they think they're safe, they go ahead and see that turret over there. They shoot it. Sometimes they may decide to push in through here, but if you have a teammate holding here, hopefully they won't. So they go ahead and decide to push in through to C. The alarm bot goes off. You pop grenades. There is no place for them to sit that will keep them safe. And this turret, another added benefit to it, there is no visibility of this turret as you are coming down C long. So if they split up and send some people Garage and some people C long, it'll be a bit too late before the enemy is able to see the turret from C long. They'll have to be right around here, and by that time, hopefully you or your teammate on C will go ahead and give the enemy team a bit of slap. And now taking a look at our last setup here on Haven on the Seaside of the map, we're going to want to go ahead and set up our alarm bot right here in the corner next to the green box. First grenade parallel to the alarm bot right there. Second grenade just right here in front of these wires. And turret, for the first position, we're going to go ahead and set it up right here on the little side of this box. Position yourself just to the left of it. This is a very, very, very aggressive turret setup. This is if you want to go ahead and take aim duels, maybe peek a little bit. Not necessarily recommended for Killjoy's playstyle, but hey, let's say you're feeling a bit cheesy, go for it. So you just go ahead and set your turret right there, take a peek, pop some shots off. Maybe they go ahead and shoot out your turret, so you go ahead and back up behind sight and wait for them to move. The enemy decides to move in. Your turret's already destroyed. They get hit by the alarm bot. First swarm grenade goes off. Either they decide to back out of this or push into this. Either way will be very advantageous for you. When they start to go for the plant, you pop your second one, and it is a very, very wonderful grenade for the default plant. It'll have them move, and hopefully if your team is in the right position, you can get a good play on this retake. Some alternative turret positions could be right here to play a little bit more passively. If you want to go ahead and set your swarm grenade off at the exact same time as they are seen, and they will be shot by the turret, you could go ahead and put it right there. Or if you want to maybe change where they're aiming, right there, for example. And last but not least, if you want to be a complete cheeky mouse, throw it right there. That way you know exactly when they're planting, and you can go ahead and set off your grenade that you will have right there. Now, Killjoy's setup on C, in my opinion, is the most expert one, if I had to give it a term. And what I mean by that is you, as a Killjoy player, are going to have to know a decent amount about her to play C really well. A has a little bit more defined setups, so you know exactly where to put your grenades, you know exactly where to put your turret. There's not a lot of room for error on that one. When it comes to C and Garage as a little bit of an extension, there is many different setups here and many mix and matches that you can go ahead and put together to give you maybe a new setup of your own. But I would definitely say that if you are looking to do anything with your setups on C, that it will be very, very good to practice them, even in a match over and over and over again. And then once you have it down, C will be unattainable for the enemy team. And that is going to be all the time we have today for our Killjoy setups here on Haven. I want to thank you all very, very much for checking out all the videos. Even if this is your very first one, I appreciate you getting this far in the video. That is more support than I could have ever asked for. But if you would like to go ahead and support us and the video a little bit more, you can go ahead and slap a like down on the video or leave a comment on what your favorite cheese is. Let me know what your favorite setup is. Let me know what your least favorite setup is that I showed. Let me know if there is a better setup that I could do, or just let me know what you think the next best agent would be to go ahead and show off the setups for. We will definitely have more and more of these coming very, very soon, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.